Hello all, my name is Jared Brees. I'm apparently the SecDSM AV lead. Fortunately, we're getting a little bit of a team. Kenny here is going to run it for my tool talk on GPG, Yubikey, and with crypto keys. If you were here last month, let's go into the on the Soundcraft, mute the HDMI on both pillars and to the live stream. If you were here last month, you heard Dave and I believe it was Nick Stark give a talk on sort of intro to GPG. Mine builds on that a bit and hopefully will teach you something you don't know yet. That one's right here, and then where's HDMI here? Here we are, this one. There we go, cool. And the AV system's still new to me too, so trying to get everything figured out. Okay, so I'm really going to try and focus a little bit more on the troubleshooting side of things because, you know, you notice that I'm bald, but the question is, did I shave my head or did I just rip my hair out while dealing with this stuff? I'll let you guys figure out, hopefully I'll have it figured out by the end of the talk. As I mentioned, so Yubikeys are these really, really cool things that let you do all sorts of cryptographic stuff. They can generate one-time passwords. They can be used as a TOTP, secure key store, U2F or FIDO, universal second factor, all this fun stuff. I'm really just going to focus on GPG and a little bit of the difference between that and the PIV functions. There are great tutorials out there for how to actually do this stuff with them. There's not such great documentation on what do you do when something goes wrong. I'm not an expert by any means. This is from Slack yesterday. I was working on something and I'm like, let me just make sure I've got this right. Oh, whoops, wrong Yubikey, factory reset. Also, you'll see the two keys that any security person needs. One to get you into trouble, one to get you out of it. Which one's which, I don't know. I suppose it depends on if you're red team or blue team. So, oddly, oh, by the way, I'll probably call it Open GPG at some point, even though I know it's Open PGP that is, you know, the GPG2 program. PIV versus smart card. So, the Yubikey, and I'm specifically going with the Yubikey 4 here, there's some slight differences between the different models, especially older ones. The Yubikey 4 has several different applets. One of them is PIV, or I believe it's personal identity verification, as well as an Open PGP applet. Each one functions independently. They both have their own PIN. You can set a PIN for one and go to use it in the other and wonder why on earth isn't this working. So once you know that they're two separate things, that'll help you a lot. I've got up here some of the specs on it. The PIV uses a PIN and a PUK or it's something undo key, I don't remember. And the Open PGP set has a PIN and an admin PIN. And you can use the PUK or the admin PIN to reset the PIN of the respective applet. Also, let's see here. So one of the goofy things is that when you're using, and this is also focused more Linuxy, when you're using them with Linux, SC daemon or the smart card daemon is required for doing pretty much anything with these. Even though Yubikey doesn't refer to the PIV applet as a smart card, it's still also used for the, or sorry, it doesn't refer to the Open PGP stuff as a smart card, I believe. But you need Open SC daemon for either one. Pin retry counters. These are your friend and your enemy. You can manually change how many pin retries you get, and it will reset the pin and admin pin if you, depending on circumstance. If you don't know them and you're resetting them, it's obviously going to reset the pin and admin pin as well. Otherwise, that'd be kind of pointless. Like, I don't know this. Give me more tries. It does not wipe keys from the card, though. So if you want to do that, there's a separate process. And you can do that for both the PIV and Open PGP. You can set how many retries you get. Let's see here, resetting. So one of the commands that you'll use if you break things like I do is the Yubico PIV tool -a reset. That will factory reset the PIV applet on the card. In order to reset the Open PGP pin and admin pin, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to basically kill it with fire. You open the GPG2 tool, GPG Agent Connect, hex, and then you send a few hex strings, and what it'll actually do is it'll actually invalidate each of the remaining retries until you're at 0 retries. You do that for both the pin and the admin pin. and then you can terminate the card and then reinstate it. And then that's their recommended process for if you forget a PIN and you need to reset it. Why? I'm not entirely sure. I'm slightly more a fan of the YKMan Open PGP reset, which just factory resets the entire thing. It wipes all the keys there, it resets the PIN, it does all that stuff. I found that occasionally if you're doing a lot of plugging and unplugging and back and forth and trying to transfer keys and whatnot, sometimes it'll just get mad at you and a reboot doesn't fix it, in which case the YKMan Open PGP reset helped me once. There's a little quirk. So one of the big things that you would want this for is to store your private key, because your private key is supposed to be private. Nobody's supposed to have access to it except you. And if it's on a flash drive, someone gets a flash drive, they got your private key. This, not necessarily. If you've only got 3 PIN retries, you're not using the default PIN, which why would you be, unless you're doing a demo like I am, then they've got 3 chances, and then your private key is just no longer useful on that Yubikey. So it's a lot more secure way of storing it than a flash drive, although you do need a little bit more software on your computer to actually use it. What's interesting, though, is you can actually import secret keys in GPG2, but for whatever reason, I found that you can't import a private key once you've moved it to the... So say you make a backup and everything like you're supposed to, you move that private key to the Yubikey, and then later you're like, I want a copy of this on my computer too. I didn't actually want it to just be on the card. So you try to restore from your backup, it doesn't let you. You have to completely delete the key and then import the private key, which will build it back up. Why? I'm not sure. Also, the YKMan, the Yubico provided tool for managing the Yubikey. I found that occasionally with some quirks with how the GPG agent works, especially if you're using SSH, which we'll get to in a minute, you sometimes just need to kill the agent and restart it. You shouldn't need to reboot usually. Card edit and key to card. Okay, so as soon as here's one of the things that threw me off at first. If you go to, and there will be a demo on this, if you go to, generate a key, your private key, you want to move it to your card so it's safe, and then you go to quit. It's like, well, do you want to save? Well, yes, of course I want to save. So you save it. That key is no longer on your computer. There's just a stub there. So if you don't have a backup, sorry, the only copy now is on your Yubikey. If you just want to copy it to the card, you don't want it to move it, then you say no to saving it. It will still be on the Yubikey, you're just not saving the move, you're just, I guess I don't know how else better to describe it, you're basically copying at that point instead of moving it. Demo time, this, since this is a tool talk, I'm trying to go through it kind of fast, let me make sure I didn't miss anything though. Yeah, backing up the whole .gnupg folder is probably the recommended way to back it up just so that you don't miss anything. There are export commands for GPG. I believe that Dave and Nick covered some of that. Google for it if you're not familiar. I am going to now attempt to walk through what it takes to set up an open PGP private key on the Yubikey and then be able to use that for SSH authentication to a remote host. Because by default, whatever type of key the SSH authentication uses, it doesn't line up with what the Yubikey is expecting with OpenPGP. And part of the way that works is there has to be software on your client machine that you actually replace the SSH agent that normally does the key handling with GPG agent. And then that provides the mechanism to talk back and forth between the Yubikey and confirm that you are who you say you are. So I want to pull up real quick one of these links, and I will provide this slideshow afterward for anyone that wants to look at it too. If I go to here, where are we? I believe it is this post. So this guide here is great. Can you make me full screen, please? I believe it's just titled Screen. This is one of the primary guides I used during this. And really, if you just follow these few steps right here into the basic configuration, you're golden. In fact, I didn't even need to use the first one. It's really just you need to enable SSH support in one of your configuration files. You need to have this bit of text here at either your bash RC or bash profile. I've actually got it in a separate bash profile so I can pick whether to source it or not, and then I just source it manually if I'm going to do it. And then in a lot of cases you'll need to restart the agent so it recognizes it. So let me pull up real quick my steps for the demo so that hopefully I don't screw anything up. But if I do, it'll just be really funny and everyone can laugh. Let's make this guy full screen and let's increase the text size quite a bit here. Hey, there we are. Okay, so first let's see if we have an SSH connection to my computer over here at 172.16.2.2. And I should be able to log in. And I can log in, so we're good there. So let's make sure that it actually sees the YubiKey. So for that, we'll go GPG2 card status. And you can see that right now I have, let me move that up so I can see it. There's no authentication key, no encryption key, none of that stuff. The pin retry counter is 3 and 3, so both the admin pin and the pin are set to 3 retries right now, which is the default. It's basically a factory key at this point. So let's make a key. I need to move that up to full gen key. And I just want the default, that's fine. Let's go 4096, the YubiKey supports it, why not? Let's make it expire in 1 day, I don't need this for very long. Let's see what we have here. Yes, that's correct. Real name is fake, that I misspelled. Fake1. Email address, fake@example. Can you tell I can't type and talk at the same time? No comment, yes, that's okay. I'm not going to enter a passphrase for this, but it really wants you to be sure that you don't want to enter a passphrase. So it prompts you again. It's like you must have goofed up. No, I really don't want a passphrase for this one. Am I cutting out? Am I not talking loud enough? There we go. Okay, so I have keys. Now, all the guides that I read recommend that you use a subkey. I don't understand subkeys. I just know how to use them to an extent. So now we go in and let's do list keys, and we can see that we've got our fake key there. That's good. Expert, and you need to do the expert if you want to edit subkeys, I believe. So fake@example.com. I don't see what I just did wrong. Oh, did I do fake1 at example.com? I think fake1 was the name. There we go. Okay, yeah, fake1's the name, fake@example.com is the email. So now we have, okay, so I'm in the edit key mode. So from here, add key. What do I want to add? And this will throw you off too if you're like me and you don't read closely enough. An authentication key is used for authentication. An encryption key is used for encryption. If you try to use an encryption key for authentication, you'll rip your hair out. And that was part of why I wrote up the script like this, because I knew that something would go wrong. It took me an hour to figure that out. Imposter syndrome or not, that's what it is. So let's go here, let's add key, and we want 8, I believe, is 8 lets me set my own capabilities, so that's good. I want to toggle the sign, the encrypt, and the authenticate, and I should just be yes, so hello. So the only thing it should be allowed to do now, I believe, is authenticate. So let's go quit, because I'm finished. Key size 4096. I want 4096. And it's valid for 2 days, even though that doesn't actually do anything. No passphrase again. I don't need a passphrase. And then it wants me to move the mouse around or something, so it gets more entropy. And then once it has enough entropy, then it will make the key. So this is the boring part where we wait and watch. It's like they joke about an encryption demo. Look, it's encrypting. Although this is even worse because it's not even encrypting it, it's just making the key. All right, so from there I did a blank password, so I want to quit. And yes, I want to save my changes. I want to, because otherwise it probably wouldn't save the key to the computer. So from here, this is where I would go and nano. So if we go G2, list secret keys. So here's where you can see, where's my mouse cursor? There we go. This A here is what tells you it's an authentication subkey. You will get either, so if you move the public key like this one, you'll get the little hashtag there. That tells you the public key is not actually on this machine. If you move a subkey so that it's just a stub, you'll get a little right arrow or the greater than symbol there next to that, which we'll see here in a minute. So we're going to move it to the Yubikey and then try and use it to SSH into something. So where are we? Clear that again so I can see it up at the top. Bash profile. So I already have the requisite information here, so I don't actually need to do anything, but I'm going to source that so that it loads that into my running configuration or environment. I'm not sure the proper term. And if I, with key grip, okay, so the key grip, what that gives me is it gives me the part that I need to actually enable the SSH authentication instead of just authentication in general. So I'm going to copy this guy, and then what you do is you nano GNUPG. Oh, I forgot to clear that first. I'm sorry. So what this file does is it tells you what key grips are allowed to do the SSH authentication. So I'm just going to paste the one that I just copied in there. Call that good. And then, where am I at? Edit key. Okay, so at this point, I could, in theory, use my GPG key for SSH authentication. But part of the point of this talk is Yubikey and how to use the Yubikey for it. So we are now going to go back into our edit key mode. And it would help if I specified a key. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Nope, 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 nope. Really, really, really. Typing is hard. Okay, so from here, we need to pick whether we're doing public or private keys. By default, those seem to public keys. You type in the word toggle, enter, and it switches to private keys. I have yet to find a way that you know which mode you're in. Just, I guess you have to remember it. We want to pick key 2 because that's the second key here. I believe that they're actually 1 indexed instead of 0 indexed, but it only counts the subkeys. Could be wrong on that. Feel free to correct me if anyone knows different. Okay. From there, we want to move key to card, which then will move it to our Yubikey. And yes, I want the authentication key because I had just made an authentication key. Admin pin. Mine is the default right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And enter the admin pin. Maybe that wasn't the admin pin. There, did it not move it? Such key's already been added. Okay, well that's fine. Nope, don't want to replace existing. I thought it told me it moved it. I guess not. Okay, so then here's the part where if you go quit, it's going to ask you, do you want to save changes? If you say no, you'll have a copy both places. You have one on your computer, you have one on the Yubikey. If you say yes, it will remove the actual key from your computer, and you'll just be left with the stub. So yes, I want to save changes, and now if I do to card status, then you can see that my Yubikey has a lot more stuff here. You can see it's got an authentication key here. You can see when it was created. You can see the related public key, I believe that is. I don't remember for sure. But the authentication subkey is the part that's actually on the Yubikey. So now, to enable the SSH part of it, we need to go, oh, I lost my mouse. I'm a sad, sad person. That was the wrong one. Where's my mouse? There it is. There we are. Add L. So this will list the available keys that you can use since we enabled the configuration to do this, and we sourced the profile so that it actually took effect. These are the keys that it's now recognizing that can be used with OpenGPG authentication for SSH. And it looks like there's card number. So that one with the card number is the one that we want, although it appears to be the same. Maybe I did something wrong and it's still on the computer. Either way, SSH add capital L gives you the actual public keys. So from there, I want to get my mouse back to where it belongs. I want to take this one and I want to copy it. Oh, not that far. Is that copy? Yeah, that's copy. Zooms everything but the context windows, apparently. 172.16.2.2. And SSH authorized keys. I'm guessing a lot of you in here have done key-based authentication with SSH before. Yes, no, nods, something. I see some nods, some no's. Okay, so key-based authentication, maybe we'll talk on that at some point. Part of key-based authentication is you need to add a key to the authorized keys if you want to be able to use it for anything on the server side. So I am doing that now. And then if everything went smoothly, then I should just be able to SSH now. Since it is on the Yubikey wants to make sure that it's an authorized use, so it asks me to enter the PIN. You can actually also enable the touch, so that even if your Yubikey is plugged in somewhere else and someone's remoting into it, it won't do anything even if they have the right PIN, because you actually need to touch it. I have that feature disabled currently. It comes disabled by default. And it's actually looking for the PIN, not the admin PIN. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by default. And we're in. And I believe that if I then take this Yubikey out, then I shouldn't be able to, yeah, it wants me to insert the card. I've taken the key out, so even if somebody steals my laptop now that has access to my other laptop, they can't do anything with it because it's right here. And as long as I remember to change that PIN and admin PIN, they can't get in. So if they steal this, it's worth resale value, and that's about it. Speaking of which, Arden over in the Lockpick Room has a handful of Yubikeys that he is willing to sell at cost that were extra. So if you want a Yubikey, head over to him. If you need help factory resetting it, head over to me. Any questions at this point? Yes? Say that again? No, but yes. So here's my understanding of the recent eFail vulnerability you may have heard of. Basically, if you have an email client that has an extension, or you have anything that's acting as an email client extension or an email client with built-in PGP, whatever, if it automatically decrypts the email and then automatically follows the links, then potentially if an attacker put, say, a start tag and then the encrypted content and then an end tag, and at the beginning of the start tag of the anchor link href, they put their URL, then they could see via the access from the HTTP GET, they could see the contents of that if it decrypted it and followed the link. But as far as offline decrypting, where you're not just randomly clicking on links, this, to my knowledge, currently has no known vulnerabilities. The NSA might tell you differently, but as far as I know, this is currently one of the most secure public-private key pair authentications there is. Any other questions? No? All right, I'm going to hand it off then. Thanks. Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break, and then we'll have the next speaker, which I believe is Stacy.